Okay, so the second half of this section involves what they call the United States rule, a payment that is less than the full amount owed and made prior to the due date is known as a partial payment. A Supreme Court decision specified the method by which these payments are to be credited. The procedure is called the United States rule. The United States rule states that if a partial payment is made on the loan, interest is computed on the principal from the first day of the loan until the date of the partial payment. The partial payment is used to pay the interest first. The rest of the payment is used to reduce the principal. The balance due on the date of the maturity is found by computing interest due since the last partial payment and adding this interest to the unpaid principal. So in this, they use the banker's rules used to calculate the simple interest when applying the United States rule. Remembering again, there's only 360 days in a year with the banker's rule. So what they do is they have a chart so you can figure out what day it is. And we're going to go back to that chart. So it's important that you can look at that chart, or if you need it, that you go back to this and look at it to do these problems. Okay, so the first one says loan due date, how to figure out the loan due date. So the due date, if I take it out on April 7th, so that's I'm taking the loan out on 4/7 for 180 days, when that's part A. Okay, so what would be the due date? So I come over here to 4/1. So 4/1, because that's April 1st, is 91. It's April 7th, right? Did I read that wrong? Whoops, sorry. It's April 7th. Sorry, I read it wrong. Read my own handwriting wrong. 4/7. Okay. So I come over here to 4/7. So 7th day, April, you can see they have it circled. It's 97. Okay, so first day is 90. So I'm going from 97. I'm going to add 180. So I'm looking for day 277. So I come back over here and I look for 277, and that is October 4th. So that is the due date. So the due date would be October 4th. That would be day 277. Okay, part B says how many days from November. Now, again, it's using the banker's rule, November 15th. So that's 3/15 to 11/18. So I come back over here. I'm going 3/15, 3/15, March 15th. Of course, it's at the bottom of this. March 15th is 74, and November 18th, is 3/22. Okay. So all I would do is go 74 minus 3/22. That's 248 days. Okay, so I just, again, using the chart. Using the banker's rule, determine the simple interest that we paid on a $2,700 loan, interest rate 2% for the period March 15th to November 18th. So I have to figure out how many days this is, that which I just did up here, which is 248. So interest equals principal times the rate times the time. So the principal is 2,700. The rate is 2%, so it's 0.02, and the time is going to be, because it's how many days, and that's always yearly, 248 divided by 360. So when I do that, my answer is 3720. That's how much interest would be charged. Okay? Okay, so now this one, she's Mrs. Panic is a math teacher. She attends a national conference, pay for her airfare on November 1st. So all of these are important, all these dates. November 1st, she takes out a 120-day loan for $400 at an interest rate of 12.5. Mrs. Panic uses some birthday money to make a partial payment of $150 on January 5th. She made the second partial payment of $100. Okay, so the first question was determine the due date. So she took out the loan November 5th, which was day 305 according to that chart. She took out a 120-day loan, so they added 120, which came out to be 425. But there's only 365 days in a year, in a normal year. So you subtract 365 from that, and you get left with 60. So going from November 1st to March 1st is the 60th day. So the due date for this loan is going to be 3/1. Okay? So now it says determine the interest and the amount when she makes her partial payment on January 5th. So on January 5th, how many days is it from November 1st? So from November 1st to January 5th, how many days to the end of the year? There's 60 days to the end of the year because November 1st is 305th day. Plus 5 gives you 65. So I just wanted to show you that even though they're saying 360 in their dividing, they do have 365 days in this chart. So they do it normal. Okay, there's only 28 days in February, but when they do their calculations, they use 360 when they do their rate calculations. Okay, so back to this. So there's 60 days from November 1st to the end of the year, plus the 5 days till January 5th. So there's 65 days from November 1st to January 5th. So she made a payment of $400. This was the interest rate. So she has to pay them $9.03 interest. So what happens is they take the $400, the $150. Sorry, she made a $150 payment. The principal was $400. So 150 minus the 903 gives you the 140.97. So her new principal is now this. So let me just go back because I used the wrong word over here. This is the principal. This is not the payment that she made. This is the principal. That's the interest rate. That's how many days from the time she took it out till the time she's making her first payment. She took out the loan on November 1st, and she's making a payment on January 5th. So she owes $9.03 interest. So when she makes that $150 payment, they really only credit from the principal $140.97. So this is her new principal. So now she makes another partial payment on February 2nd. How many days from January 5th to February 2nd? It's February 2nd is the 33rd day, minus 5, that's 28 days. So this was the new principal. Interest rate, that's how many days. So this is the interest she has to pay off of that partial payment that she's going to make. So she made a partial payment of $100. They took the interest rate, or they took the interest off of it, so she only got credited for $97.48. So this is her new principal. That's how much she now owes because she's made a partial payment. So at the very end, because we calculated the due date to be March 1st, there's 27 days left from February 2nd to March 1st. So this was her new principal. Interest rate, that's how many days. So that's the interest rate that was still left. So the 161, now we're going to add, this is how much she owes come March 1st. Okay, so that kind of took you through it. So this is another question, but they don't do it as A, B, C, D. So I'm just going to do this one for you. So it's the same idea though. They took $6,500 as their loan, 10.5% is the interest, and it's 180 days. And again, this is important. They're doing it on March 1st. So then they make payments of $1,750 and $2,350, and how much will they have to pay on its due date? So let's figure out the due date first. So we're going from March 1st, so let's go back up to that banker's chart. So we go to March 1st. March 1st is day 60. So we're going to take the 60 and we're going to add the 180 because it's a 180-day loan. So that's going to be, we're looking for day 240. So day 240 is going to be, of course, on the other chart, is right here, and that ends up being August 28th. Okay, so let's go back to our question here. So the due date, because that makes a difference, so I have to do that first. So the due date is August 28th. Okay, so first they make a payment of $17.50. So let's on May 1st. So you have to figure out how many days is it from March 1st to May 1st. So again, if I go back to that chart, May 1st is the 60th day. Sorry, March 1st is 60th day. May 1st is 121. So it's 61 days if you go back to that banker's chart. So how much interest do they owe? So you take the 6,500 times 0.105 times, they had 61 days out of the 360. And that comes out to be 115.65. So you subtract that off their payment of $17.50. So they only get credited for $1634.35. So the new principal, you take the 6,500 and minus the $1634.35 because they made a payment. So now they owe $48.65.65. So now they make another partial payment. So you use the new principal number times the 0.105 times how many days is it? How many days from May 1st to July 1st? That's day 121. This is day 182. So again, it's 61 days. So you do 61 divided by 360. You multiply those all together and it comes out to be 86.57. So instead of being a payment of $23.50, you take off the 86.57 for the interest, and it comes out to be $22.63.43. So that comes off the principal. So you take 80.40.65 minus the 22.63, and the new balance is now 26.02.22. Okay, so now how much are they going to owe when it's due? So in other words, you have to figure out how many days it is from July 1st to August 28th, and that comes out to be 58 days. So my new principal is 2602.22 times 0.105 times 58 days. So they're now going to owe $44.02 interest. So I add that to my principal. So when the thing is, my loan payment is due, they now owe that amount. Because this is how many days it is from 7/1 until August 28th, which is what we said was the due date. So the first thing I had to do was find the due date. Okay, so that one's a little complicated. You're going to have to do one of those for homework, okay?